Hi everybody, it's Leslie here, and today I wanted to bring you sort of a different type of video. My top tips for people that have never or do not work with horses. Number one, please, please, please never honk at a horse that you see, especially with a rider on their back walking down a street. I have heard horror stories from my friends about they were walking down the street with their horse, somebody honked and they almost got bucked off their horse in the middle of the road. Don't ever honk at a horse. They don't like loud noises. They are prey animals and they will get spooked, especially some more than others, very, very easily. Number two, if you see a mare and foal, which is a mom horse and a baby horse, do not go automatically pet either one of them. Especially with some mares, they will get very, very defensive if you try to touch their baby. Or the baby could bite you, rear up on you, do a lot of things because they're very young and they don't know any better. Just, if you see a mare and foal, best bet is to not touch them unless you have verbal consent from the person in charge of them. Number three, do not feed a horse that you do not know. Treats or other things. One of the barns that I work at, my school barn, we have this one horse that he cannot have any sugar. So they will occasionally give him mints, like sugar-free mints as treats because he can't get like hay stretcher that is heavily made up of sugar. Like he has a condition, I am forgetting it right now, but he has a condition that his body cannot process sugar, so it'll be very, very, very bad if he does have sugar. So if you don't know a horse, just don't automatically go give it treats. Ask the person that is in charge. Number four, if a horse's ears are pinned back on their head, like they should be up and facing you, but granted they're like back like this on their head, they are not comfortable or they're pissed off or something about either the situation they're in, another animal, or what you're doing to them. So a lot of the times certain horses don't get along with other horses. So if you walk by one of them and you just automatically see their ears pinned, it's best to get out of there ASAP if you can. But sometimes when horses' ears are pinned, they just don't like where you're touching them, or they're sore there, or they are not comfortable in the situation they're in, so there's a lot of loud noises going on, or they're just not comfortable. So best bet is to be aware of your surroundings and know whether it's another horse, that's what you're doing, try to figure out what is wrong, so hopefully you can fix it. Number five is when you are leading an animal or in the stall with an animal or around a horse in general, make sure you are watching your feet and watching theirs. So I got stepped on last fall by one of our police horses, Miranda, when I was putting her back in her stall. You're supposed to go in a stall and make sure they're facing their doorway so you can take their halter off and exit their stall. So to explain this, her stall door is here and you walk in, and then her hay nut is over here, which obviously she wants to eat. So I tried taking her in and turning her around. She didn't want to turn. She just wanted to go straight for her hay. So she stepped on my right foot, which, because you lead a horse on their left side, so your right side, I was leading them, and she stepped and turned on my right foot, on the bottom half of my right foot. It hurt so badly. I had not been stepped on by a horse previous to that, and I was in so much pain. But you have to get yourself out of the situation. And she did have shoes on because she was a police horse and they provide better traction and everything for her. And she weighs 1,400 pounds. So I got stepped on by a 1,400 pound shod police horse. So I got stepped on by a police officer, technically. Police officer almost broke my foot. I ended up having to go to urgent care a couple of days later, and they did have to x-ray it. And without an x-ray, they thought my foot was broken, just with how purple and not good looking my foot was. Thankfully it was not broken. I had a little tiny shoe. It was just flat, and there were like two straps. It looked like a sandal, but it was completely flat and it would not bend to help keep your foot straight. But I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything at the barn for I think it was a little over a week before I could put regular shoes on, just because my foot was so swollen, and stepping just hurt me so much. So just make sure you're watching where your feet and their feet are. If you notice the horse is slowly like inching their way closer to you, just make sure you know where their feet are and try to get them back to where you are more comfortable. But just watch out. Especially, this goes with also watch where their hind end is. Because if you suddenly don't see a foot, it could be just going to kick you. Obviously, there's other factors that go into that situation too. Number 6, if and when you are given permission to give a horse a treat, I know I was taught this when I was really little, but I'm not sure if everybody else was taught this. Give it to them with your hand flat. And if your fingers do go into their lips, because they have very, very large like lips before their teeth, just make sure you know where your fingers are and try to remove them as quickly as possible. You do not want to get bit by a horse. Their teeth are flat, so it doesn't really hurt like if you had a canine or something, like a dog would, but they still have a lot of force going behind it. I know I had that happen to me one time. This horse Outlaw that we have, I was just trying to give him a treat and he was licking my hand, and then I suddenly like my thumb got bit, but I wasn't paying attention enough. So just make sure if you are going to be giving them treats or anything to know where your fingers are and to not really let them sit in their mouth, because they just are going to chew it if it's there. Number 7, some horses are just naturally mouthy, which can be corrected with certain training. But I know one of the moms that we have, one of the mares that has had a lot of babies at the school farm that I work at, she tends to like bite her babies a little bit if they're doing something she doesn't like. So they learn that biting is okay, and it's not, especially towards a human. We had this one horse, Lincoln, who that was his mom, and he was very mouthy. He would try to bite. He would always, when his halter was going on his nose, he'd always bite it. He would always try like grabbing like your shirt, and like you just had to make sure you were far enough away that he was only grabbing your shirt and not catching any of your skin. But a lot of times, especially if you are new somewhere or they're telling you, they'll be like, hey, that horse is mouthy, or you'll kind of know when you put their halter on if they're just trying to chew it. Or I was leading this horse this morning named Flank, and when I was trying to put his halter on, he was doing that, and he just wanted to like chew on his lead rope the entire time and was trying to like nip at the other horse I was leading him with, and it was just not like too mouthy. Not always a good thing, but just beware so you don't get bit yourself. Number 8, horses do also get salt blocks because they need salt in their diet. So they have salt blocks that they lick, whether it's in their stall or in their pasture outside or whatever. And so if a horse is just constantly licking you, you probably have a lot of salt on your skin because they just love the salty taste. So you're probably very salty. Number 9, be careful if a horse just drank water out of their water bucket, because a lot of the times they'll spit a lot of it out by accident when they're trying to drink it, because they just sort of put their entire like nose, mouth into it and then drink that way. And they'll like turn away if you're like coming to get them, and then once you put their halter on, like half of the water just comes back out and you could get soaked. And if they were just eating grass, it's green and it's kind of nasty. So just beware. And number 10, some horses can be food aggressive. So beware if you try to take a feed pan away from a horse while there's still feed in it, while there's still grain in it, or if they are getting fed outside and they're in a pasture where there's multiple horses around. If another horse tries to come near them, just make sure you're not in between them and you're at their face. These are my 10 top tips for people that don't or have never worked with horses, and some sort of guidelines. Obviously, there's other things like you lead a horse on the left side, but there's other little things that are super easy to teach and you'll learn right away working at a barn or working with animals that you wouldn't necessarily know. But these are just some of my top tips to keep yourself safe. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Any other suggestions for any other videos, please leave them in the comment section down below. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Bye, everyone.